About 10 years ago, when I was 12 years old, my family took a trip out east to visit some other family that lived out there. My aunt and uncle offered us to stay at their place because it was decently big and it was just the two of them living there after all of their kids had moved out. It was an old house in a nice little neighborhood, and it had a woods in the backyard. After we arrived there were 2 empty bedrooms. My parents got the larger one, and I took the smaller one. I remember we walked around the city the first day and met up with some other family. Then we went back to their house. The next night, my parents, aunt, and uncle were all invited with a few people to dinner. When I realized I would be the only kid at the dinner, they told me I could stay home for the few hours. I was happy with this because I would rather play on my Xbox than be bored with a bunch of adults. There was a TV in my room, which was a pretty nice one, and after they left, I started playing Call of Duty. About 20 minutes in, I heard a car door shut, which sounded like it was coming from the driveway. I went over and looked out my second-floor window down to the driveway. The sun was setting, so it was kind of hard to see, but I saw a car parked on the side of the street between my aunt and uncle's house and the neighbors next door. A man had gotten out of the car and started walking up the driveway. I didn't recognize him, but I figured he was some sort of door-to-door salesman. I was definitely not going to answer the door, but I continued to watch him, all the way until he arrived at the front door. But when the man got to the front door, he didn't knock. He appeared to just look inside, and then walked around the side of the house towards the back. Suddenly, I got a bad feeling. Why would this man want to go into the backyard? The only details I could really make out about him is that he was wearing a black jacket and jeans with a camouflage baseball cap. I went out of the room and into the bathroom across the hall, which had a little window in it overlooking the backyard. I looked around for the man, and then I saw him. He was walking fairly close to the house and went to the back door. I saw him look inside of it and then appear to try the handle. To my surprise, I saw the door open and the man walk right inside. I think I went into shock for a couple of seconds when I saw this, because I really didn't think the door would be left unlocked. I heard noise coming from downstairs, the sound of the man coming inside. I didn't have a cell phone at the time, and the only house phone I knew of was downstairs. So I ran back into my bedroom and hid under my bed. I hoped the man wouldn't come upstairs and would just leave. I could sort of hear noises from downstairs of the man moving around. He seemed to be walking around near the kitchen and the living room. Then I heard him start to walk up the stairs. This scared me more than anything. He got up the stairs and walked down the hall. I heard him open a door nearby, and then the door next to my room. Finally, my door got opened. I held my breath as it did, but as quickly as it opened, it was shut. I didn't know if the man was inside my room or outside, because I was facing the wall, until finally I heard the door to my uncle's bedroom open. The man appeared to stay in there for a while, and then walked back down the hallway and downstairs again. I kept hiding under the bed and hoped he wouldn't come back upstairs. I was feeling slightly relieved until I heard the footsteps come back up the stairs once again. They seemingly stopped directly in front of the bedroom door that I was in. Then came one of the scariest moments of my life. I heard the man on the other side of the door say, "I know you're in there and under the bed." Then the man told me to come out in a very creepy way. I didn't move, however, probably because I was frozen with fear. I was thinking of what I could possibly do when I heard a voice come from downstairs. It was the voice of another man, and he was yelling. I heard him say, "Hey," and "What's going on?" I heard the man upstairs, then walk back down to the base of the stairs and down them. I stayed in hiding. I heard some yelling come from downstairs, and then heard the voice of the second man yell he had called the police. About 10 minutes later of me shaking under the bed, I heard sirens and the police entered the house. I came out and talked to a lady police officer about what happened. The man that had broken in had left, but the other man had stayed. He turned out to be the next door neighbor. My parents arrived about 20 minutes later. I was told that the next door neighbor had seen the suspicious man enter the house and went inside to investigate. When he saw that the man had broken in, he yelled at him. The man that had broken into the house used to work for my uncle and had been fired about a year earlier. It was truly a miracle that the neighbor came in the house when he did, because he possibly saved my life. In the fall of 2018, I was going into my junior year of college. After living in the dorms for the first 2 years, I decided to rent a house with a few of my friends. We attended a very large and old college, and this house was sort of run down and very old, but it was close to the campus and cheap, so we were more than happy to rent it. There was going to be 4 of us living there total, and when we first got the place, we all moved some furniture in and then went back home. When August came around, I was the first one to move back into the house for the school year, and the others were going to move in the next week. I moved the rest of my stuff in, then had the whole place to myself for a few days. It was a house with 2 floors and a basement, and for the most part was a typical run-down old college house. The first night when I got back, I was too tired to really do anything and just went to bed. The next day I mostly just played video games, but at night I decided to go all around the house and make sure everything was good, because none of us had been there for a couple of months. I went upstairs and on the main floor, and then went down into the basement. The basement was unfinished, and we really didn't have a plan on using it for anything. It had hardly any lighting at all, and was just overall not a very livable space. When I got down there, I turned on a light, and saw what appeared to be something moving from about 20 feet away. I didn't get a good look at it at all as to what it was. I was afraid it could possibly be a rat, so I took out my flashlight on my phone and looked around. I went all around the basement slowly, but didn't see anything at all. But when I was on the wall next to the stairs, I heard the sound of something falling. I looked over and saw an empty box that had fallen over. It was a rather large box, and I didn't understand how this could happen. It gave me the chills, and without hesitating, I ran back for the stairs and all the way up. Once I got upstairs, I shut the door and stood there. I wasn't sure what to do. I told myself I was 20 years old and I shouldn't be afraid of this. I didn't know if there was some sort of animal downstairs, or worse yet, a person. I decided to text my friends who had lived there about the situation. As I got out my phone, I heard the sound of a woman screaming coming from downstairs. It sounded extremely disturbing. I literally ran all the way upstairs to my bedroom and then called the police. I told them what I had heard and what I had seen, and they said they would send somebody over right away. I sat in my bedroom with the door locked, sitting on my bed. As I did, I heard a door open from downstairs, and then another door slam shut violently. I slowly went out of my room to look around and see if anything was down there, but I didn't see anything at all. The police arrived a few minutes later. They came in and searched the entire house, but couldn't find anybody at all. We all assumed whoever it was left. I just don't know how they got in there or who it was, and to know that I lived there for a whole day with somebody possibly living in the basement really creeps me out. This story took place in December of last year. My parents took my sisters to my aunt's house, about 30 minutes away from mine, and I didn't want to go, so my parents left me home alone with my dog. It was around 8:30 p.m. and in the winter time, so it was already pitch black by now. I was in the middle of playing a game on my TV in my room when I heard a noise. This was unusual, but being the 15-year-old that I was, I decided not to pay any attention to it. A few minutes later, though, I heard another noise, but it sounded closer. This time I decided to pause my game and go investigate a bit. I did a full sweep of the house and found nothing. This sort of creeped me out, but there wasn't much I could do. so I just went back and kept playing. Some time went by, and I recall the time being around 10:20 p.m. My dog had come up to me and started getting all excited and jumping around for a bit. This was her way of saying that she needed to go to the bathroom, which meant I had to let her outside and then let her back inside when she was done. I was skeptical about this, but I hesitantly took her out to the back of the house to go and let her out. I was about to open the back door when I suddenly got this fearful urge to go and look out the window first. I cautiously looked out the window, making sure to only move the blinds by centimeters. I saw nothing at first, but when I looked at the back of my yard, what I saw made my blood turn to ice. It was a man in his late 30s with a scruffy beard and long, disgusting hair, looking right at me. I took my dog, locked the door, ran upstairs, and went into the bathroom. Then I locked the door there. I called my parents, and they were home in 20 minutes. The cops were called, but they never found the guy. I still wonder to this day what would have happened if I didn't look out the window first. This happened when I was 13 years old. I was home alone and minding my own business when I heard my little brother start crying. He had a room in the basement at the time, so I walked downstairs to check on him and see if he was all right. When I got inside of his room, I saw that he was holding his head and said to me that someone had pulled him out of his bed. Before I could ask him more details, I turned around and saw a man run past the doorway and up the stairs. I couldn't make out any details of him, but I ran and called the police. Thankfully, the man had left our house, and the police got there a short time later. They spoke to my brother and me about what had happened, and we told them what we could. A few months later, we were told that the man had been caught. It was a huge relief to hear that, but then we heard some details that were really creepy. He had been caught while at the window of a house, and when the police searched the man's home, they found a secret room which he had filled with images and computer cameras of various rooms. Some of them were on the inside of our house. It was the holidays, and at this time of year, me and my family would usually go to my aunt's house, given the fact that there would always be a big party there. This year, I decided that I wouldn't go, seeing as I was a 19-year-old male, and I would really only want to play games such as 2K and Call of Duty. My parents reluctantly told me I could stay, and off they went to my aunt's house. I immediately went on Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Fast forward to around 2 in the morning, I was lying on my bed, watching YouTube videos, when I heard a knock at the door. It was more of a pound, really. I sat up in fear. Who could that be? I thought to myself. I went to a room next to where the door was, and I peeked out. I saw no one at the front porch. I was a big car guy, so I immediately recognized the car. It had its lights off, but in the driver's seat sat a man, probably in his 40s. He had a disgusting goatee, a trucker hat, and what looked like a 20-year-old next to him in the passenger seat. I had a bad feeling ever since the knock on the door, and now I felt even more scared. I immediately went to my bathroom at the first floor and locked the door. All of a sudden, I heard a window getting smashed. I wanted to call the cops, but I left my phone upstairs in my room. I slowly and quietly worked my way upstairs and entered my room. I got my phone, and as I was leaving, I saw it. 2 pairs of boots were shown in the bottom part of my dresser where there was an opening. I pretended that I didn't see it and calmly walked downstairs. As soon as I was halfway back down the stairs, I heard a crack, the type of crack that can only be produced if you shut a door really slowly. As soon as I heard that, I bolted the rest of the way, got out of the house, and called the police. Back in Romania, it was a school day, and I had to get prepared. Me and my family lived in an apartment, and my room had a faded glass door. You can still see through it, but it's blurry. I was changing into nice clothes, and my mom was out of the apartment. I don't remember exactly where she was, but I was all alone at the time. And so, as I was changing, I looked at my door and saw a white thing pass my room. Immediately, my chest felt like it was being poked with a spike and my heart pounding really fast. I called my mom and told her about it, but she just told me it was because of all the video games I'm playing. But I've never had nightmares from those games or anything related to that. I hung up and went to investigate. I checked everywhere and saw nothing. I'm very sure that I saw something, and it even scares me to this day. I did some research and no one died in the apartment or anything, but I still don't have any explanation for what happened.